Discipleship School. What a strange name that didn't comfort us when we first heard it. Because it sounds like the word obligation. Not only in appointments, but also it's related to sitting for hours and hours listening to lectures in various topics. And maybe what was the first thing that came up to our minds when we first heard about it? Discipleship School.
But what was really new to us is that instead of asking us to consider many obligations and restrictions, it taught many of us how to live in a committed and strict manner. And that was one of the most beneficial teaching to us later on in our church.
Also, on the contrary, the school wasn't only time to learn,
but time for praising, fellowship and practical training, as we will see.
Why schools? Is there any need for it?
Frankly speaking, it's a good question. If it was for learning, we learn in our church. For praising, we also do that. Fellowship, we already play together football each year in the summer. And that's it.
But each church do that alone. People in one church have nothing to do with the others in another church.
And from this point, it came up the idea and the need for one strong teaching that unifies our church in Alexandria together and implies fellowship and unity in the vision and attitude towards our own country, Alexandria.
Alexandria?
Yes, Alexandria. Our town, as we know that any of our churches could grow alone.
But no church is capable of implying the revival alone in Alexandria.
And from here we started to dream about a strong teaching that unifies our goals and church towards Alexandria.
Among the rest of the activities of Alexandria Youth Committee, the Discipleship Schools was one of the most important events.
So, the goal is a unified teaching that benefits the church, and each one serves in his place in church with this big vision.
Okay, so what happens exactly in this school?
First of all, of course, the teaching.
The teaching in the schools was distributed over a period of 6 weeks.
And in each week, we explore in details one or more topic.
First week
was about the intimate relationship with God. And we heard about the quiet time, the call for discipleship, and the heart of the servant. And that was a very important foundation for us, to know the one who called to follow him as disciples, not in a crowded and noisy environment, energized us to complete the school to be disciples. Isn't it called Discipleship School? Second week.
About God's character. And maybe this topic didn't seem to be that interesting to us, except after the first lecture that talked about the importance of knowing God's character, where we realized the importance of knowing our God and His characteristics, the natural, the moral characteristics, and Trinity, and many other things that we knew but didn't really understand. The third week.
Inner healing was its title, and many of us took practical steps in their lives toward bitterness, fear, and pride inside us by means of realizing God as our Father and His unconditional love, forgiveness to us, and also our forgiveness to others. The fourth week.
About the church. Frankly speaking, that was the goal of the schools, because here we started thinking about our churches and how God looks at our churches. And this week, our love to our churches increased when we saw God's love to the church, and each one of us had this dream that his church could be the church that's in God's mind. The fifth week.
About the Holy Spirit. Who is the Holy Spirit? What is the importance of His presence? How do I deal with Him? How do I deal with Him every day? What are the Holy Spirit's gifts? Am I gifted? All these questions were in our minds, and we found all the answers in the fifth week. The sixth week.
It was about the spiritual warfare, not me but Christ. There was a strong challenge that how could I die for Christ to live in me? The battlefield, knowing your enemy, living a victorious life.
And for our teaching, it took special care, because it's one of the school goals. After being prepared to build a relationship with God, knowing Him, the Holy Spirit, and the church, we had to take a special teaching about outreach, its relevance, our role, and God's role in it. On special outreach evangelism campaigns, like the first sport camp in Alexandria that was around 170 youth, and we saw how fruitful it was, as we could never imagine. And we touched how God could work through people's lives, those who dedicate their lives completely to Him.
The second level of school was about the vision, its meaning and importance. Also, we talked about relationships. How could I build healthy relationships with people around me? Also, choosing life partner and marriage in God's mind. The stewardship.
What does it mean? How could I realize that all what I have is a stewardship from God?
Let's praise, let's sing. That was the second thing in schools. Time for praising and worship. We were so excited for that time because we really saw God and felt His presence. It was so marvelous, whatever before or after the teaching. It was amazing how all of us from different churches get united in asking and calling God for our lives, churches, and our country.
About fellowship time, it was divided into many things. First, sharing groups. We were divided into small groups that were fixed each week. That was our chance for each one of us to feel at ease and speak freely about our lives, concerns, the influence of the teaching on us, our problems, our trials. The strange thing that these groups weren't only such a special time for girls as usual,
but also for boys. That made strong bonds between each other during this time. Our dream also is that we could gather monthly, each one in his small group, to follow up and share with others our life.
Second thing in fellowship was playing time. Frankly, it wasn't related with being in a special playground. We just thank God for the available streets that were there for us to play as we like.
Playing, having fun, laughing, girls talking.
Boys playing football.
We enjoyed every beautiful thing together.
The most important thing is that no one was ever bored. This time showed us how we get more and more close each time we get together.
Then we came to the practical training, I mean the work duty. That was strange to us and to our campaigns.
But frankly speaking, we discovered very special talents in cleaning the dishes, cleaning the lecture halls,
even the bathroom cleaning.
We were amazed by the boys' cleverness that was superior over the girls in cleaning the bathrooms.
But though we laughed a lot in that time, we learned in the work duty how to serve others. That was better than many preaching this topic. Also, by the way, it made many mothers at home feel comfortable.
What a loss. We wanted that all the people who joined us from the beginning to complete with us. But no problem. Maybe the next time we would be able to complete the whole school. From the beginning till the end.
As I said in the beginning, this is a school. Strictness and commitment are the most important thing in it.
The beautiful thing also is that the group serving in the school that's known as sub or sub-leader accepts new people that have been graduated from schools to join the team.
So we could complete serving in the schools if it was a calling from God. Come and join us in this challenging journey,
which can change your whole